Hey guys, welcome back. The time has finally come. 6 years in the making. It's time to finally review Halo Infinite's campaign. As the title says, this review is entirely spoiler-free. I'm going to have a spoiler-heavy review, very heavy, coming out on the 15th, so a week after launch. But this one is going to be entirely safe for you to watch if you want to go into the game fresh. I just want to talk about my overall thoughts on the campaign now that I'm not locked talking about the first 4 hours. I want to talk about things that I love, things that I didn't like, and also I'm going to give the game a rating out of 10 at the end. Now, before we start the review, I want to preface this by saying that I've played the entire thing through twice, when it's on normal and when it's on legendary. I've also got a lot of time in the game just exploring the open world and doing nothing of any real purpose, so I don't think that anything that I say in this video is going to be a byproduct of a honeymoon phase or of the fact that the game is new. Obviously, I'm a huge Halo fan. I'm a lifelong Halo fan. Been playing this franchise for almost 20 years now, and I'm 25 years old, so that's a lot of my life spent playing Halo. So obviously my views are going to be a little bit biased on this game, but just know that I think anything I say in this review, any thoughts and feelings I have, will be the same this time next year. I don't think any of that is a product of the honeymoon phase. I will say as well, just because I feel like I need to say this hasn't affected my review in any way, shape or form, but View43 did provide me with an early copy of the campaign to play, just getting that out of the way first. It didn't affect anything though. So, let's start off with the good stuff, of which there's a lot. The Master Chief, the weapon, and the pilot are such a good dynamic trio in this game. The pilot's character is fantastic, the weapon feels familiar and also unique and new at the same time. Honestly, this trio kind of remind me of the Chief, Johnson and Cortana duo from the original trilogy. They aren't the same by any means, but I get similar vibes from this trio. It's the same kind of setup, and I love their dialogue, the way they interact with each other, the way they go through the story together. It's fantastic. These three characters are so good. The story does such a damn good job at mixing elements of Bungie's original trilogy with elements of Halo 4's story, whilst also not forgetting and addressing Halo 5's story as well. It also mixes some of that classic trilogy comedy in as well, which I think has been sorely missed since, honestly, Halo 3 ODST. Halo 4 had a bit, but it mixes it in really nicely in Infinite, and oh, it just adds such a good little touch to the campaign. I honestly think that most fans are going to be very satisfied with this game's story. Obviously, it's not going to please everyone, but I think most people are going to be happy with it. The art style, good lord. Good lord. There are elements of this art style that are my favorite in the entire franchise. I'm not going to say what it is, but there's one element of something that I was legitimately awestruck the first time I saw it. Absolutely beautiful. Also, tell you what is fantastic in this game, the doors. We all know that Halo fans love their doors, and there are elements of every single game's doors in this game. If you thought you were a Halo door fan before this game, well, your fan status is about to go up to 117%. We love the doors. The music in the game was fantastic. There's one particular moment, right, where, not kidding, I genuinely teared up. I sat there like, oh man, no. I can't wait to talk about that moment, because I shit you not, I teared up at that moment. It was perfect. However, I will say one small downside to the music is that I don't think its implementation in the actual game was always as good as it could have been. There were moments where I felt like something should have been playing, or something should have been playing a bit louder. I think it could have been implemented a little bit better, but the music itself is just beautiful. The Banished are fantastically fun enemies to fight. There are so many new cool enemy variants and ranks that are so fun to fight. They're fair to fight, they look fantastic, and I guarantee they're going to have some really cool lore that I can't wait to cover. It's such a breath of fresh air fighting the Banished after coming off Halo 5 where we were fighting the Prometheans, that for all intents and purposes were just bullet sponges. The Covenant in Halo 5 weren't very interesting. The Prometheans I thought were just not fun at all. The Banished are such a breath of fresh air. I've already told you how good the bosses are, but let me just reiterate, right? The bosses in this game made me so happy. You guys know that I'm a massive fan of Metal Gear and Resident Evil and Dark Souls, 3 games that do bosses fantastically, and this game did not disappoint, honestly. The bosses really do feel like unique characters that kind of know each other and that naturally coexist within the Banished. They're not just NPCs with higher damage or higher health. They feel like genuinely unique characters with unique motives, personalities, relationships, and all that good stuff. They are fantastic. One question that I've been asked a lot that I honestly don't know if I can even answer, and even if I wanted to, I probably couldn't, is how long the game is. I didn't time myself, I didn't sit there and try and guess how long the game was. All I'll say is that for me personally, subjectively, the game was the perfect length. It doesn't go on forever, it's not filled full of filler side quests and content that just exists for no other reason than to pad the length of the game out. The side missions were great, don't get me wrong, but they are totally unnecessary, you don't have to do them. I think Infinite's campaign really knows to just not overstay its welcome. I would say that for me, it was the perfect length. But this game has tons of replayability as well. I mean, I've said this 1,000 times already, but I'm gonna say it again. The open world alone just adds so much replayability. Going around the open world, grappling everywhere, exploring the environments, caves, mountainsides, it genuinely doesn't get old. I've spent so long just doing that alone with no purpose, no objective, no mission, and I'm still not bored of it. I also found some rather interesting things in the open world. I have a lot of ideas about these things. I might talk about them in my spoiler review, but I think that they're going to integrate quite well with the whole live service aspect of Halo Infinite. At least I hope they do. I hope they do something with these. And kind of on that same note, the Easter eggs in the world were fantastic. They really activated the zombies YouTuber part of my brain, let me tell you. That part of my brain that hasn't been active since I was hunting for like the moon Easter egg when Black Ops 1 Moon came out. That part of my brain was activated again in this game, which made me very happy. I know I did just talk about filler a little bit and that there wasn't really any in the game, but I will say there was maybe 1 or 2 times where I felt like what I was doing was kind of filler content, but I really didn't mind because I enjoyed it so much. I did also say that I played the game on Legendary, and I want to talk about the Legendary balancing because after Halo Reach, Halo 4, and Halo 5, it was a breath of fresh air, let me tell you. I cannot stand Reach 4 and 5 Legendary because all it does is make the enemies just insane, unfun bullet sponges. Like Halo Reach Elites, Halo 4 Prometheans, and Halo 5, I can't really remember to be honest with you, but Halo Reach and Halo 4 in particular, the enemies on Legendary just become unfun bullet sponges. Infinite goes back to the kind of Combat Evolved and Halo 3 style of balancing, where like, yeah, health is increased a little bit, but the main increase is kind of the reflexes of the AI and also the damage that they do. They do a lot more damage and it's so much more fun to fight. I would say that the game is closest to Halo 3 on Legendary. I think overall, it was honestly maybe a bit too easy. For me, Halo 1 is still the golden standard when it comes to Legendary balancing. That game is Legendary, it's the quintessential Legendary experience, and Infinite was maybe a little bit too easy, but I still really enjoyed it. I genuinely thoroughly enjoyed my time playing Legendary, which I can only say was the case for Halo 1 and Halo 3 beforehand. I will say there was one bit on Legendary that was miserable. I won't say what it was. There was one bit that I thought was balanced terribly, but the rest of it was just beautiful. And kind of extending that point, some of the equipment I felt on my normal playthrough was absolutely pointless. Like, the only times I ever used it were to use it for the sake of it. Whereas on Legendary, everything felt useful. Honestly, like, there were some pieces in Legendary that I thought I'd never use, and I kind of relied on. I honestly just can't put into words how much fun I had playing this game on Legendary, and I think overall it really felt like the equipment sandbox was balanced with Legendary in mind, and then kind of backported down the difficulties, because it all feels so good on Legendary. And finally, optimization and performance on the Series X, which is what I've played it on. I've not, as of the recording of this video at least, played it on PC yet, but on Series X, optimization, performance, really damn good. I think I maybe had 1 or 2 crashes overall, and like the odd small graphical glitch, but broadly speaking, it ran fantastic and looked fantastic. Okay, so let's move on to the stuff that maybe I wasn't the biggest fan of in this campaign, because as much as I loved it, it wasn't perfect, right? The first thing is quite a small thing, but it means a decent amount to me, so I'm going to mention it. the skulls. I was really hoping that after Halo 5, we'd go back to like the traditional original trilogy skulls where I could actually pick them up and hold them and beat the enemies with them. And given that Halo Infinite has Oddball on day 1, I thought I'd be able to, but sadly, I can't for some reason. I find it weird. Like, Halo 5 I understood because obviously the game didn't get Oddball for like 2 years, but Halo Infinite, the skulls, I'm pretty sure are the Oddball, right? And it's the same model, and the game has Oddball at launch, so I don't understand why I can't hold the Oddball, or skull even, but I'm sure that's something that 343 can patch in. Now, the biggest issue that I've got with this campaign, and I'm not gonna lie, I think it's something that's gonna piss quite a lot of people off, is the fact that you can't go and replay a single mission without starting an entirely new playthrough. Unfortunately, gone are the days of a classic Halo campaign mission list where you go down a list and you can be like, okay, I want to play mission 4, or mission 3, or mission 5, etc. You can't do that in Infinite because of the open world structure. If you want to play mission 5 again, well, you've got to restart the entire campaign, which is really frustrating. That I did not like. That is going to be really annoying for personal, like, enjoyment reasons of the campaign and also for content reasons. Not a fan of that, and I'm really hoping they can patch that in at some point because it's gonna hurt the campaign a little bit. Another issue I had is less of like a bad thing, it's more so just something that I wish was there. There were so many moments where I wish these things existed because it would have made a cool moment even cooler, but they don't. Assassinations. Assassinations in this game would have just been so perfect. Sneaking into a base and assassinating a brute guard or like assassinating a jackal sniper before they detect you would have been so good. It would have really, really added to the experience. I'm looking forward to when they patch them in eventually, but not having them at launch hurts, I'm not gonna lie. And my next point is kind of a natural extension of this. I mentioned this already, but the lack of stealth options in this game kind of hurt as well. I was really hoping with the structure of this game that we were going to be able to like MGS our way into a base and sneak in undetected, take out almost, if not all of the enemies in a base without being detected, without them going into an alert mode. But sadly, that's not the case, and I also think that if we could do that, if stealth was an option, assassinations would be even better than I imagine they already will be in this game. Like, the combination of a full stealth mode with really cool assassination animations would just be so damn good. I really hope that at some point we get a campaign DLC that's like Halo Infinite ODST or something, where they add actual proper functioning stealth mechanics, because the formula of Halo Infinite's open world would work so well with stealth mechanics. I really hope that gets added at some point. And my final issue for now is that I felt like the linear missions kind of got a little bit repetitive. Not in their overall structure, more in the smaller elements of the levels, in particular, repeated rooms. Now, it goes without saying, Halo is no stranger to copy and pasted repeated rooms. Halo 2 did it a little bit. Halo 1, especially Assault on the Control Room in the library, did it loads, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that Halo's never done that. But it felt like at times Infinite kind of dialed them up to 11, and it did get a little bit repetitive. In Halo 1, a lot of the repeated rooms had very varied encounters in those rooms, so although you were fighting in the same room, what you were fighting and how you were fighting it was very different each time. Whereas in Infinite, I felt like that wasn't the case. At least it was, but not as much as in Halo 1, which really added to the repetitiveness. This also contrasts quite badly, I think, with the open world and how varied and dynamic the encounters in the environments are in that open world. I think the quality of the open world segments kind of exacerbates this issue with the linear missions. I think both elements of the gameplay, open world and linear, absolutely have a place in Halo. I'd never want Halo to be one purely over the other. I just think that the linear missions could be a little bit better in their structure. So, with all that said, it's time to give my overall score. Now, first, let me give you my scores for all the previous Halo campaigns so you can see where Infinite ranks among them. Of course, this is entirely subjective, but here we go. Halo 1, 9.7. Halo 2, 9.9. Halo 3, 9.5. Halo Wars, 8. Halo 3 ODST, 9. Halo Reach, 9. Halo 4, 8.9. Halo 5, 3. Halo Wars 2, 7.5. And Halo Infinite. Drum roll, please. My score for Halo Infinite's campaign is 9.3 out of 10. Yes, you're seeing that right. This is my favorite campaign since the original trilogy. Personally, I don't think anything will ever top Halo 1, 2, and 3 for me, partly because of how much I love those games and how objectively good I think they are, but also partly because of the my subjective love for those games. I have so many memories tied to them. It's just, those 3 games were like the perfect storm. I don't think they will ever be topped. But Halo Infinite is the closest a game has ever been since Halo 3, at least in its campaign, to topping those games. I cannot put into words how much I love this campaign. I'm still loving this campaign, actually. Not loved, not past tense, present tense. I still love this campaign, and I think you guys are also going to love it. Obviously, I'm going to go into more detail about this when I get to my spoiler review in like a week or so, but for now, there it is, 9.3 out of 10. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and also how excited you are for Infinite's campaign down below in the comments. And with that said, I want to give a massive thank you to all of my amazing patrons for the continued support over there. And thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll catch you all in the next one.